So, if you don't know me, I'm a massive fan of Fire Emblem. You might call me a fanboy, but I don't really retain the plots that well of any video games, really. And so I had the idea to make a video where I try to, in one take from memory, recount the tale of a Fire Emblem game. And in this case, I made the poor decision of asking my friends, hey, can you pick me a Fire Emblem game? Doesn't matter which one. It does matter which one. Because my friend Colin was like, yeah, BS FE. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I can totally do that. So here we go. This is BSFE from memory. So we should probably start with what BSFE stands for. Obviously, FE is Fire Emblem. BS could be a few things. It could be, the thing that's not family friendly, so I won't say that. It could be Berwick Saga, which is not a Fire Emblem game, but it is a game that Shozo Kaga made, and he created Fire Emblem way back, but he made Berwick Saga after he left Intelligent Systems and Nintendo, so probably not Berwick Saga. Maybe Banana Split, who knows? It could just be a fun game about having good ice cream adventures, so let's go with that. Banana Split Fire Emblem. So BSFE takes place on the continent of Arcanea, and what I do remember is it was originally an anthology series of 4 individual maps, which had their own self-contained stories. And this was, I want to say, like the late 90s. It was Super Nintendo era, but it was like a weird Super Nintendo add-on or something that like lets you stream download things. And there was voice acting, but the voice acting is gone now. Like, I don't think there's any way we can ever recover that. Maybe someone is smart enough and technical enough. I'm not. I've never even played the original. I've only played like one of the maps as a remake from FE12. Not all 4, definitely not all 4. So that's great. We're off to a grand old start. So what happens in Banana Split Fire Emblem? Well, like we said, it's an anthology series. There are 4 episodes, so 4 distinct stories. And fun fact, Marth and Roy are not in this game. They are not, although it is in Marth's world, so there's some crossover. So let's start with the episode that I feel the best about. We'll call it episode 1, just to make things nice and simple. The Princess Nina, or Nina if you prefer, but I prefer Nina because that's just a normal human name. Sorry to any Ninas out there. Not that sorry. But she's like, oh no, the Dolar Empire is attacking. I must flee. All of my family is dead. I am the last princess. And the Sable Knight, Camus, and that is how some people in official media have pronounced his name, but really it's Camus, because, I mean, come on now. He's like, I'll escort you out of here, Nina. And he's like, I will do that with my 3 knights. Who don't show up in the original Fire Emblem Book 1 or 2 for Super Nintendo, but they do show up here, and then they show up again in the DS remake. And one of them is named Belf. I don't remember the names of the other 2, but I do, for whatever reason, when I say Belf, my mind jumps to Beck by Odelay, which I think is the name of an album, but I'm not really sure. So we'll go with that. We'll go with like Belf, Beck, and Odelay. And those are their names. And they're like, we're here too. And Nina's like, I have some guards as well. Meet the bald twin knights, Dolph and Macellin. And also Boa's here. And no one likes Boa because literally he ruined everything for everyone. That's Boa. He's the reason why Book 2 happens. I don't like you, Boa. And I think Rickard might be there for reasons, just because he's a thief and he's like, hey ho, I'm here to steal stuff. And they're like, oh no, the Dolar Empire. And everybody's like, yeah, this is a bad scene. And so they defeat them and they escape. And that's how, I don't know if it's book 1 or book, no, it would have to be book 1, because if it's just Camus, that's book 1. That's how book 1 of Mystery of the Emblem starts. You're welcome. Episode 2, Minerva and the White Wings do things. And I say that because I know when I think about, okay, who had special portraits for Banana Split Fire Emblem? And I know Minerva does, I know Pala does, I know Katria does, and I know S does. Sidebar, the portraits in this game are funky. Like, they are just not, they did not come correct. They're stylistic, so I guess points for that, but I just don't like them. So that's episode 2. Minerva and the White Wings exist. Episode 3, introducing some more new characters, like, I think her name is Malice, and her dad is named Dice. And I think there's a bishop named Frost. And they debuted in this, and then they came back in FE12, and then Malice was, like, against all odds. She both got into Heroes and then got an alt in Heroes, which is, like, the devs making the mobile game don't really care much for the DS exclusive characters, so that Malice did that is kind of outstanding. Like, go for her. You go, girl boss. So that's episode 3, Malice Defies the Odds. And then there's a 4th episode. What is it about? Who can say, really? I'm trying to think who would have had a portrait in Banana Split Fire Emblem. And I just don't know. So we're gonna take a hard pivot to something wrong and say, for the sake of funny content, haha, Aramia, who only exists in the DS remake. She wasn't created back in the 90s. She's there doing things. Why? Because I remember her DLC story sort of got tied into the DLC story of Banana Split Fire Emblem. And so there's her, there's Reese, who's also called Katarina, there's Legion, if you're English and you're bad, or if you're old and you like fan translations, his name is Roro, and I just think that's more fun. And then there's, I think her name is Clarice, she's a sniper, and they're like, yo ho ho, we're assassins, and I guess we're pirates now. And what we did is we were orphans, and Aramia's like, you know what? I'm going to raise these orphans to be assassins because no one loves them. And that's episode 4, which is really just sort of the B plot of New Mystery of the Emblem, but you weren't asking about that, but it's what you got. So how did I do? This was me trying to recall the plot of Banana Split Fire Emblem from memory in one take. Leave a comment below with how I did. Probably not great, but points for enthusiasm, I guess. Have a nice day.